we are now in the terminal phase of Keir Starmer's Premiership. We don't know how long the terminal diagnosis will last.
Just brought you the breaking news that Keir Starmer's Director of Communications, Tim Allan, has gone as well. Patrick Maguire has joined us to tell us what he thinks, although I can tell you already what he thinks because he just tweeted the words, "That's all, folks." Patrick.
Yeah, look, we are now in the terminal phase of Keir Starmer's Premiership. We don't know how long the terminal diagnosis will last or what the prognosis is, and I'll stop using medical vocabulary I don't quite understand at this point. But look, in 24 hours, Keir Starmer has lost his Chief of Staff, he's lost his Director of Communications, probably the most experienced man in Downing Street with the exception of Jonathan Powell, the National Security Advisor. Who knows? Jonathan Powell was the subject of some very, very heavy and aggressive briefing by allies of Morgan McSweeney yesterday, who said if Morgan McSweeney had gone for advising the Prime Minister to appoint Peter Mandelson, Jonathan Powell should sure as hell go as well. And when a experienced professional like Tim Allan leaves an administration and says you've got to let a new team take its place, you've got to wonder how sustainable this is. Number 10 is clearly in a state of extreme flux right now.
Yeah.
And that is not a good place for a Prime Minister to be. The people who are around him have been with him for a long time. But knowing how people on the inside are feeling, they're feeling disorientated, they're feeling shocked and traumatised, and how much longer will the Prime Minister go on for? That is the question.
So trying to see if there's any sort of positive interpretation Downing Street could put on this, which is of course pretty hard work. A lot of people, including you yourself, have been saying for a while one of Starmer's problems is that there is no Starmerism, that he is this vessel for other influences that come to him. Is there any, and we were just talking about this before, but is there any prospect of like what happens now? Because he's finally the most senior person in his own team, if you see what I mean. Mm-hmm. You know, because all these other voices who seem to have a better grounding in politics are now gone. Is there a chance that now, like, finally we see Starmerism?
I mean, but what is it?
Well, this is exactly the question I asked before you got here.
What is it? That is the problem. When the Prime Minister delivered his speech at Labour conference, which was all about a vision of decency versus division from Nigel Farage, a couple of days before which he said Reform's immigration policy was racist, the sort of intervention that would, you know, make Morgan McSweeney have kittens and scream and say this is not the changed Labour Party. He came off the stage, Keir Starmer, that day and said that was me. I mean, is that it? Like, you know, it sort of is grist for the mill for some progressive voters, but what, just saying like I'm a nice guy and Nigel Farage is a bad guy?
Well, so I mean,
is that it? Plus a bit of expansionist fiscal policy. So, I mean, is that it?
To peek into your crystal ball, then, and we're about to talk about this a bit further with Seb and Charlotte. But what happens now? Who's the person who makes the move? If he's now dangling by a thread, and any other cliche you want, who's the person who snips it?
I think the only person who can snip it at this point is Keir Starmer himself. Although I imagine cabinet ministers now are looking at this and thinking, if you're West Streeting, it's not an ideal time to move, but is there ever a better time to move, to be the person that brings this to an end? I was speaking to a senior Labour figure yesterday who said the cabinet need to do something, otherwise they are complicit in this. And by this, they mean this sort of completely rudderless, chaotic, even more so than it was, 2 weeks ago, phase of Keir Starmer's Premiership. Someone's going to have to do something. But I'd say in the immediate term, the only person who can bring this to an end is Keir Starmer himself, by seeing which direction the wind is blowing in and saying, if these people are making the judgment that they have to go, surely I will also have to go myself.
Angela Rayner, she made waves on TikTok at the weekend in a video showing her getting her hair done. This is what Angela Rayner getting her hair done sounds like.
So, Ange, what we're doing today?
The usual.
Cut-wise, are we just going to do a little trim and some of your nice butterfly?
Yeah, I like really feathery around the front as well.
Are we still keeping your fringe a bit longer?
Yeah.
Or is it driving you mad?
It does a little bit because my fringe has a habit of wanting to go like that.
Yeah, so it parts a little bit.
It needs to it's very...
We did it in a bit of a point, didn't we? So that it's a bit shorter, but then it is a bit longer there.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that video was posted by a hairdresser, Natalie Blow-Jones, just hours before the departure of Morgan McSweeney was announced. Is this the content we want from our next Prime Minister, Charlotte?
Not necessarily. I think that's just Angela Rayner having a nice time, isn't it? I think she can count herself very lucky that she actually had to leave when she did because of her tax affairs. I'm sure she wouldn't have seen it that way at the time. But to be able to be outside of this mess, to not have everyone looking to you and saying this is now on Angela Rayner, she is the one that needs to kill Keir Starmer or make Keir Starmer's administration work, is quite a lucky thing. And she does keep her hands rather clean from all of this. So, yeah, I'm not convinced that was a leadership bid. I think that's just Angela Rayner having a nice life, and good for her.
Well, look, similarly, Al Khan's, seen as an outsider in the race, posted a photo of himself with a pint at a pub and the caption, "A quiet beverage on a Sunday afternoon, support your local," which sent people into a frenzy on social media, thinking he could make a bid for the leadership as well. Are we going completely mad here?
Yes, we are. And I remember this kind of febrile atmosphere, again, from the end of the Boris Johnson days, where every tweet, everything was seen as a metaphor for something else. The Al Khan's thing is a fascinating one. I mean,
tell us all about him, because he's not a name that most people will be familiar with.
No, and I think that includes all of us in this studio. So this always happens. I mean, the nearest analogy I can think about in Tory circles was when Mark Harper ran for leadership. Do you remember that?
No.
Right, there you are, exactly. Yeah. So he was Chief Whip under David Cameron, a junior minister, and went on to become Transport Secretary under Rishi Sunak. But he ran a leadership bid. I remember going to that bid and sat there and just thought, what am I doing with my life here? This is clearly not going anywhere. Al Khan's is the Armed Forces Minister, who's the MP, I think, for Aldershot, and was elected with someone with a very impressive military background. And was
Aberdonian, joined the military at 19, I believe. Yeah,
that's right, and went straight into ministerial office, having never been a politician, having never been an MP before, and has been talked about by some Labour MPs who want a fresh start, some MPs who like the Blue Labour thing, who think that it's engaged with the military and understands maybe communities outside of London better. I can sort of see all that. The flip side is no one knows who he is, and I just think, given how high stakes all this is, it's not going to happen. But yeah, I mean, you could just see it as a picture of a pint on a Sunday. He posts a picture of him going for a run as well. Maybe that's just what he does. But if you want to read the runes into it, maybe that means he's running.
I mean, he basically, for people who don't know who he is, he looks like a sort of very solid, quite cheery, very dependable, quite tough 65-year-old. I was quite shocked to read this morning he's actually 3 years younger than me. But there we go. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be all kinds of names are going to keep sort of flaring up. In a way, I actually think the best parallel for Al Khan's beforehand is a chap called Keir Starmer. You know, who's slightly outside most of the kind of sort of, you know, political tribes, looks the part, and people think could sort of be a force of solidity. Don't you think, Charlotte?
I think that's a reasonable assessment. Yeah, the difference would be that Keir Starmer was in opposition and had plenty of time to prepare for government. And this is something of a Starmerite talking point. Well, it was until today. I think things might have shifted somewhat, but they would say to you, stop messing around. We are in the middle of basically a global constant perma-crisis. There are so many significant things going on in the world right now. If you have a leadership contest, it will be 6 months of faffing around and then 6 months of someone else learning to do the job. Leave Keir Starmer alone. Just let him get on with it. I think when it comes to someone like Al Khan's, that is a really good point to make. This is a G7 country. This is a world that is in constant geopolitical crisis. Are we really just going to get some guy who seems like a solid, dependable type in to be Prime Minister?
We just did.
Yeah, but we gave him like 4 years to prepare, and just because he didn't put the effort in didn't mean we didn't try to give him the time.
Well, Andy's been in touch on the WhatsApp citing Dan Jarvis comparisons.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
That is the comparison, Dan Jarvis in 2015, which reminds us, of course, the person in all this we should not forget is we could be heading for chaos with Ed Miliband before too long. That obviously, if you think the centre of gravity within the Labour Party is soft left, which I do, then he's the kind of tribune of the soft left if Angela Rayner doesn't really get anywhere. So even though Ed claims he doesn't want the job, and we could be in this incredibly odd situation where if there is a contest and it just all falls apart and Ed Miliband is the last man standing, and the person who was put to the country in 2015, roundly rejected by voters, still ends up being Prime Minister. And I think if Labour did that, the voters would treat them incredibly badly and would not like that at all, unless, of course, Ed Miliband is a huge, other than to the whole unknown success as Prime Minister.